In Phase 3, portable banks are coming, and they're going to completely change my playstyle. I'll be using my mobile bank for gold making purposes, like being able to better farm the jewel crafting daily. And this is the best way for a master looter to store mountains of gear that add up during the Trial of the Crusader runs. I also plan to use my remote bank to quickly swap gear sets during raids and PvP. From gold making to raiding to convenience, everybody should be getting at least one of the 2 mobile bank options. So let's talk about the 2 new remote banks coming in Phase 3 and how to get them fast. So coming on June 20th, you'll be able to unlock 2 separate mobile banking options. The first option is the Argent pony bridle, which is a mounted squire pet. You can talk to him for bank access 3 minutes every 4 hours. The biggest benefit to the Argent squire is that your bank moves with you. That means if you're farming and need to mount up, or if you forgot an item, your bank is right behind you and ready to be accessed. Another big plus is that you can alternatively use your squire as a remote mailbox or a repair vendor, complete with food, ammo, and reagents. Although your squire doesn't sell water, he does sell the ingredients for Kungaloosh, so you can always generate water during farming and raids. You also don't need any engineering levels or skills whatsoever to obtain this bank. The only thing you need is a currency called champion seals. The one downside to the Argent pony bridle is that none of the perks work for anybody else in your party. We will talk about how to get the Argent pony bridle as fast as possible in a second. First, though, we do need to talk about the other remote banking option, which is Jeeves. Jeeves is a crafted repair bot you can summon for 10 minutes every hour. Jeeves allows you to access your bank and deposit and withdraw items just like the pony bridle. On top of mobile banking, he also has typical repair bot functions. Unfortunately, though, he only offers default reagents and no food or drink. That being said, Jeeves will reluctantly bring you a sandwich if you subscribe and like the video. Jeeves would be a no-brainer for every character in Wrath, but unfortunately does require 450 engineering. He also requires some significant farming, which we'll cover in a second. So how do we get these mobile banks as fast as possible? I'll start with the pony bridle, since this process is very straightforward. You need to champion every city in the Argent tournament, and of course I'd recommend my Argent tournament guide for that. After completing all the cities, you also need to get exalted with all the major cities too. My preferred method has been to farm and buy Runeclaw since it's really fast, though it can be expensive. On top of maxing out the cities, you'll also need 150 champion seals to buy the pony bridle. That means you should be doing the champions dailies for 5 seals per day. You can also combine these quests with a daily Trial of the Champion heroic dungeon run, and Sunreaver or Silver Covenant dailies too. Moving on to Jeeves, this is a multi-step process. Step 1 is to achieve 450 engineering. Above 400, I recommend making practical items like mana injector kits and global saber charges. Then you'll have to blow gold from 435 to 450 on gnomish army knives. As for the recipe itself, the best way to farm the Jeeves recipe is from salvaging library guardians and storm peaks. The drop rate is approximately 1%, so this could take 4 or 5 hours. With the recipe in hand, we need to gather all the materials to make Jeeves. If you have lots of gold, you can always pre-buy everything on the auction house. As prices go up, this will become too expensive for many players. Either way, the first thing we need are 2 King's Amber. I recommend saving up 40,000 honor to buy 2 the second the patch drops. Another expensive part of getting Jeeves is the 8 Titan steel bars. You should buy these early before the price shoots up. You'll also need 20 scrapbot construction kits. You can buy these on the auction house, or the cheaper option is to make them yourself. To unlock the scrapbot recipe, you first need to get a quest item called the Scrappy Access Card. This is a 100% drop rate from the library guardians and storm peaks. Then you need to take 4 handful of cobalt bolts and 5 overcharged capacitators to Scrappy and storm peaks. Then he'll teach you the scrapbot recipe and you're good to go. We'll also need 10 field repair bot 110 Gs. These are actually a pretty good gold maker on my server right now. I farmed the recipe from the Gnarg analyzers and Blade's Edge by the Simon Says puzzles. Also, don't forget that you need 2 field repair bot 74As as well. That recipe is from Blackrock Depths and it requires a Shadowforge key to reach. I didn't want to bother getting that key, so I did some complicated parkour to get the recipe. Alternatively, an elemental Sephorium charge will get you through the door, which saves a lot of time and effort. And now that we have 2 mobile banking methods, we need some overpowered loot to overfill our inventories with. Check out my Trial of the Crusader loot guide for all the new information to have your bank overflowing with gear.